Good evening. This is a meeting of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 7 p.m. and the date is March 13, 2018. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates, the alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming a voting member in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Present tonight are members, Mr. Ed Baum, Mr. John Goodekinst, Ms. Kay Towsley, and Mr. Aaron Thomas, who is an alternate, will be a voting member tonight in the absence of Ms. Lisa Carson and Ms. Jessica Koplowitz. I am John Golsey, the chair. Also present are Zoning Administrator, Mr. Rick Sorois, and Secretary, Mr. Paul Eschenbacher. At this time, I invite you to view a pre-recorded video on the rules and procedures of the board.
The Athens Board of Zoning Appeals operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator or secretary will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or their representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or their representative will offer concluding, summary, or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor shall be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.03b, the board has power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.10c, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board makes specific findings of fact based directly on the particular evidence presented to it, that the standards and conditions imposed in this title, if applicable, have been met by the applicant. Exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. Not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which variance is sought, one or the other, or in combination, is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens, aggrieved by a decision of the Board, may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petition must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision of the board to the applicant. Thank you.
There are 3 cases tonight on the agenda, and this is the order we're going to hear them. Case number 18-8V The property is at 110 West Union Street. The second case is 18-09V, the property at 37 Maplewood Drive. And the last case would be 18-10V, 220 West State Street. The board is required to take testimony under oath. Would anyone wishing to speak concerning any item on the agenda please stand? Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you will present to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please be seated. Our first case, again, case number 18-08V, the property at 110 West Union Street. Zone is B1, and Seatide LLC, a Star Partnership, are the appellants. The appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 23-1001, Table A, a schedule of bulk controls, to allow the construction of a fence with the left side setback of 6 inches, where 12 feet and 6 inches is the minimum requirement. Any comments from the board?
The only thing I thought you might want is they did receive a variance last year.
Okay.
I wanted to remind you what it was. It was to allow a building with a left side setback of 1 foot 6 inches, where 12 feet 6 inches is the minimum requirement. And then the rest of the resolution, the rest of the variance has to do with on-site parking and the size of the spaces.
Okay, thank you. Would the appellant please come to the board?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Does any of the proposal sit on the city right-of-way?
No. Not the fence or the building or anything, no.
So it's not on the city right-of-way? That's
No.
what I just want. Thank you.
Please state your name and your address for the records.
And there's a microphone here, I guess? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. My name is John Kotowski, and I'm at 14 Northwood Drive here in the city of Athens. I'm a partner in the Star Athens Partnership for this, and a part owner in the project. As Mr. Baum indicated, we came, and the secretary, we came about a year ago, and we sought, in particular, one variance, which was the side setback. At that time, Mr. Baum, there were two structures that were owned by the then owners of the property that actually sat on the right-of-way. And so, but what we have done is we have torn those or moved those two structures. One was moved, one was torn down, and everything is on the city right-of-way. We had always intended to have a fence there. We didn't get it on the original drawings when we came for the variance about a year ago, and the reason is when we came, the plans were still a little bit fluid. We weren't exactly sure how it was all going to come together, and so we didn't have the fence on the drawing. In hindsight, that's remiss, but nonetheless, we had always intended to have it, and part of that is verified or would be known because we had one overhead door in the project all the time. The intent was to open it up, and we wanted to be able to make the building more light and airy, allow more light into the space. And the intent was to put a fence there so that we contain people coming out of those overhead doors, or the one door that's located in there. It was always our intention to try to do that. We just didn't have it on there, and so our alternative, if we weren't granted a variance, is probably to put some kind of wrought iron or some kind of railing at the glass doors, so when they're open, you can't, you can't come out into that area, and to contain it. And the problem I see with that is a safety problem. I think in an emergency situation, trying to get out of the building, it's better to get people out of the building and then deal with a railing than it is to have a railing that would stop them. Either that, or we'd have to fix the overhead doors. And so we're asking that we can have that railing at the property line, or about 6 inches off the property line, which is encroaching about a foot more than the building is right now into that side yard setback. So I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? You may be seated for now, and then we may be calling you back again. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on behalf of this variance? Anyone wishing to speak in general? Please state your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is John Luffelholtz. I live at 74 2nd Street, and I own 104 West Union, which is the bicycle shop downstairs with the apartments upstairs. I do support I support the outdoor seating, but I would much prefer it to be a conditional use permit instead of a variance. And the conditions that I would like to see, one of them has actually already been addressed by the partners, was that the original plan had asked for a fence with an opening that was going to be less than ADA compliant. And I believe they've already adjusted that, so that one has been taken care of. You may have a letter that I wrote prior to
Yes, we do.
that being addressed. Okay. The other issue that I would like to see is that I feel that it would be appropriate for that outdoor space to be closed to the public during the times of Athens noise ordinance. Essentially, it's very difficult for Athens Police Department to respond to those calls at those times. There's significant evidence of that with other issues in the neighborhood. It would be perhaps it would be prudent to not put a strain on them and have that area closed off, so that there would be a reduced detriment in that area of concern. The other thing is that, I mean, our code is very archaic in the B1 zone. It essentially has remained unchanged since it was written, going on close to 50 years ago. The assumption is that in a B1 zone and a B3 as well, that you're not going to have outdoor businesses. We want outdoor businesses. It's what we currently desire. I mean, it's nice being out in the sun, drinking suds, as they say in the Shawshank Redemption. Since that assumption was, our parking assumptions are based upon the internal space, and now we're adding external space, but we're not adding any parking for the external spaces. So essentially what I'm trying to get at is that, and I see this next door at the Thai Paradise, they've actually voluntarily rented a parking space behind the station for their wait staff. And so they're not taking up on-street parking. They have off-street parking off-site that they rent for their staff. So I think adding this amount of space, it would be appropriate to add one space for their staff. And those were the three conditions. In going through those, I was constantly asking myself, am I being unreasonable? And I did look at a lot of other cities' codes in the process. I looked at Lancaster, and I looked at Oxford, I looked at Bowling Green. They all had sort of soft provisions for noise in those areas, but Oberlin was the one I had looked at, and they had a lot of provisions. Their code is much more progressive. I believe they addressed those issues back in 2011, and they actually have a provision in there that the spaces should close down at a certain time. that the space be well maintained, that litter be provided for them. They may be too extensive for our taste, but I feel that those three issues that I brought up are the ones that concern me. I guess I should ask if you have any comments or questions.
Any questions?
I just a comment. I appreciate the research that you undertook to put this together.
Thank you.
I guess I'm just a little bit confused. Maybe I should have asked John Katowski, but so do you need the fence for the liquor license too? So are you allowed to serve outside without the fence? Or I guess, is there more than one issue? I guess that's what my question is. Do you need the fence in order to serve and have those people sit outside? Is that what, I guess I'm missing something?
Yes, we
Okay.
would have to have that. But we're not going to serve out there. The individual.
So they can't take drinks outside?
They can take drinks outside,
Okay.
but they need to go in and purchase.
Sure, understood.
We're not going to be serving outside at all.
But they
as a
can
part
sit
of this.
outside?
Yeah,
Yeah. You need the
that's,
fence.
yes.
Yeah, understood. Okay.
As long as you're there, a question I was going to ask, there was a request that the serving area be limited to times in which there is no noise ordinance in effect. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know what those exact hours would be. My feeling.
Have you seen this?
I've seen that
Okay.
briefly, yes, but I didn't pay a real close attention to what the noise ordinance are. We are not going to operate the bar. We've sold the license and are leasing the property for the bar's operation. I don't think, at most we can get a couple of tables out there, maybe 3. We're not going to have a lot of people sitting outside. Unlike one of our neighbors, we're not going to have live bands. They can't. They can't. There really is nowhere for that to really happen very effectively. If you look at the size of the space, either outside or inside, and I think it's unfair that our neighbor can serve whenever he wants to serve, and then we're going to say this a small establishment that we hope is a completely different clientele, and hopefully we believe it's going to be a more respectful clientele to the neighbors and all of that. But anyway,
Is that both neighbors you're referring to, the corner on Union and?
I don't know enough about the corner cafe at this point in time, quite frankly, but certainly the other neighbor has a long history that's right next door. So anyway.
But it is nice if you can sit outside. That was
Correct. Right.
But again, in order to get that liquor permit or to make it applicable, they have to know.
To allow us to go out there, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. We have to, we have to contain where the alcohol, at least make a reasonable effort to contain where it can go.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick comments to the previous speaker. You don't have to come to the podium, but first of all, great summary, good information you provided. You also provided some citations for noise complaint. It was 4 cases, I believe. Go ahead.
I'd like to make it clear, those are complaints where the officer visited, but no citations were issued
Oh, okay, okay.
at those instances,
Okay,
which
okay.
is problematic.
Okay.
They're busy. They're very busy that time of day,
Sure.
and they don't always have time to commit to following through.
Okay, as long as you are there, you also mentioned suggested conditional use. I think we still can grant a variance and add conditions to it,
Yes.
so.
I believe I'm not an expert. I probably should have wrote conditional use permit, not conditional variance.
Okay, but we can also add conditions to the variances.
Okay,
So
no,
we may consider that.
I understand.
Thank you, BC. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in the general or in opposition? Okay, we're going to close the discussion from the floor. And so board members, how do you feel on adding some conditions to this variance?
Well, I think that the first condition suggested that between normal noise ordinance hours 10 and 7 is a reasonable request, given the fact that there are people who live there and would be affected by the noise.
Would you like to read those hours to the appellant so they know exactly
It's
what?
the request was that the fenced-in outdoor area be closed to the public when the City of Athens noise ordinance is in effect between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. each Sunday evening through Friday morning, or between the hours of 12 a.m. and 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday morning.
Are there, sorry,
Go ahead.
are there any other conditional variances for the businesses around them? The corner on Union or Smiling Skull or?
Not of that sort. The
No.
new restaurant to the left of the Cat's Corner got one for setback, but nothing to do with.
And they'll have people out there after 10 a.m.,
No.
10 p.m., correct?
Do they?
Or-
I've never actually seen anybody out there, but it's winter.
Well,
Yeah, it just opened.
I'm just looking at comparable to the other bars and restaurants
Yeah.
in town with patios, and I don't think it being fair, being comparable is a bar with a patio that's adjacent to the city police station. So they don't have no set, no hours. It's just Sundays is they busiest day with football.
Right.
So, I mean, and most of the
But
bars,
most of the
restaurants got
other
apartments
bars are
upstairs,
in different zone, right?
uptown. This
Yeah,
would be
uptown. Okay, anybody would like to make a motion considering Mr. Baum? Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion and with a comment that if anyone wants to add the condition, they may so do this so as an amendment.
Okay.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals grant a variance from ACC 2310-1, Table A, Schedule of Bulk Controls, to allow the construction of a fence with a left side setback of 6 inches, where 12 feet 6 inches is the minimum requirement.
a second. It.
Anybody wants to add any conditions? Okay, no.
I'm sorry, who seconded it?
I second.
Oh, okay.
Aaron. Okay, the motion stands as is, so let's go over the findings. Special circumstances. Are there any exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to this property or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone?
No, we already granted the other variance last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the variance was granted last year, just a little bit different. And I think having that opening for people to get out in emergencies might be notable. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. What hardship will we produce or create if we don't apply, if we just go strictly by the rules of the code?
You mentioned a safety issue
Okay.
that the fence provides additional safety.
Although the board does not consider safety, but you're not allowed to talk about safety, but that's a valid point. Preservation of equal property rights. It seems that most of the businesses of this nature, they have some sort of a outside patio or some kind of activities that seems to be reasonable. Preservation of equal property rights. I'm sorry, that's what I just read.
Yeah.
Minimum variance. I think we have already had given that variance, so this would be minimal. Absence of detriment. No. And not of a general nature.
No.
No. So, are we ready to vote?
Ask the question if anyone wants to make the amendment.
Nobody came forward to say
Okay,
anything.
just to make sure.
Yeah, okay. Although you suggested it yourself initially.
No, I raised it as a question.
Okay, very good. All in favor of this variance, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. You have 5-0. Okay, we're going to move to Case number 2, case number 18-09V. The property is at 37 Maplewood Drive. The zone is R1. And Alan and Corinne White are the appellants. The appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 23-1001, Table A, a schedule of bulk controls, to allow the construction of an accessory structure with a left side setback of 1 foot, where 5 feet is the minimum requirement, and building lot coverage of 32%, where 30%, with 32%, where 30% is the maximum allowance. Mr. Reschenbacher, to my knowledge, accessory buildings are not supposed to be as spaces for living.
They're not supposed to be, well,
But they want to put a guest house over there.
not a complete unit.
Okay.
You can have rooms above
You can have
garages
room,
and
but you
stuff,
can
just
have
as
a
long
bed,
as it's not a whole separate living unit.
Okay, so you can have a bed in there and a little
You
kitchen.
can have a bed in there. They can even have a bed and a bathroom in there, but if there's no kitchen facilities and so forth, then it's
Could
not
it be a
considered
rental?
a complete
Just don't
unit.
put a kitchen in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for the code office? And would the appellant please come to the podium and state your name and your address and the reason you would like to put a
bedroom
guest
and a
room.
bath. Yes.
Did you say bedroom?
Yes. My name is Corinne White, and I live at 37 Maplewood Drive. And we have this lovely 1900 garage. And above the garage, it's 118 years old. And we would like to preserve that garage. And we would also like to use it. And the above the garage is a space. And we would like to be able to use it for our guests. And we would like to preserve it because it's not usable at this moment. And put a bed and a little pocket bath in there. That's it. Our family lives far away, and when they come, they're here for quite a bit of time. And so that's all we'd like to do.
I went by today and I saw that there seems to be a room already there. So
It's a space.
Okay, space, okay.
Yes, but you wouldn't be able to you could have in the, maybe a month in the spring and a month in the fall.
Okay.
You could use it, but it's, there is a room up there, there's new windows up there.
Okay.
But we would like to refinish the floors. It's got some beautiful old original wood in it. We would like to continue that on. We'd like to make it with a little heating, a little air, so you could use it year-round as a guest room with just a bed and a bath. And you're invited to come and stay.
Okay. And you said, when you said the guest room, there would be no charge for the people?
No charge. This is our family and our friends.
Okay, in that case, we'll take your offer.
Oh, please, yes, you're welcome. Special price for you.
No, I'll take that back because... Okay, anything else? Any questions
No,
for the
any
appellant?
questions? Yeah.
Okay,
I
maybe-
understand the concern about a rental in our neighborhood, and this is not a rental.
Okay.
And it would not be made as a rental, so when we move off this planet, somebody else will be there, but they would have to do considerable work to make it, and it's only about 250 square feet
Okay,
of living space.
okay, I just want to be on the record that I was joking about that thing.
Oh, that you wouldn't come and
I don't
stay?
want to get in
No.
trouble.
Thank
We just had a meeting on that. Okay, thank you.
Training.
Is there anyone who would like to speak on behalf of this variance? Or in general commentary? Or in opposition? Okay. We're going to close the discussion from the floor. And any discussion among the board members?
Before we do
before we do the motion? No? Okay, would you like to make the motion?
I would love to.
Okay.
I move that the board grant a variance in case 1809V, 37 Maplewood Drive, Zone R1, from ACC 231001, Table A, Schedule of Bulk Controls, to allow the construction of an accessory structure with a left side setback of 1 foot, where 5 feet is the minimum requirement, and building lot coverage of 32%, where 30% is the maximum allowance.
I second.
John, second. John G. Okay, let's go back to the findings. What is the exceptional circumstances that we should consider to grant this variance?
I couldn't find nothing else in the neighborhood. Drove through looking, but
Historical
Yeah.
culture
Historical.
of the building?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. It's good to have the
Yeah.
guests away from the house.
There you go. And they stay for longer than 3 days, right?
Okay, I guess we refer to the same because you can put that in the minutes. Same, going back to the exceptional circumstances, same reason. Preservation of equal property rights. I have an aerial view of the whole neighborhood. It seems that they all have some sort of a accessory building somewhere back there on the back of their building. So they are not creating any new space. So is this minimum variance?
Yeah.
Yes. Absence of detriment?
No detriment.
Okay, and not of a general nature.
Yeah.
Are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
All in favor of this variance, please raise your hand. You have 5-0. Okay, let's move on to the last case. Case number 18-10B. The property at 220 West State Street, zone is R1. Kendall Brown Clovis is the appellant. Appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 230302A to allow an owner-occupied bed and breakfast use in an R1 zone where such use is not allowed. Mr. Reschenbacher or Mr. Royce, you have any additional comments to make on this?
No, not at all. Just like to
Okay.
hear it.
Okay. Before we go to the appellant, Sir Ed, do you have anything that you would like to say on this case?
Well, the only thing I would really note is that I remember a rather extended discussion when I was on city council about allowing any kind of bed and breakfast or anything else in an R1 area. And at that time, and my view hasn't changed, you don't do it.
Okay. Okay. Would the appellant please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record?
Hi, my name is Kendall Brown Clovis, and my address is 220 West State Street here in Athens, Ohio. The reasons that I'm making the request are quite personal, so this is a little awkward, but the house that we live in is, I'm married, have one child, is the first house that we purchased. It's in an R1 zone, that is correct, but it is directly across from a different zone, and I'm sorry, I don't know what that zone is, but it's across the street from Stuart McDonald and Miller's Chicken, and West State Street Parks are at the end of the street, so it's not your quiet little neighborhood area. It's very busy, very loud. My family and I had to move from the house partly because I have family in Perry County that needs our help. So we live part-time there and we live part-time in Athens. I'm a single income family, so we rely on my position. We've rented the house in the past, over the past several years, but we've rented to friends. So I've been able to still stay in town when I'm here for work, which has been great. But I have no more friends to rent to. So we thought we would request this variance and see if it's a possibility. So it would be partial use by us, and then a few days a week bed and breakfast when we're not there.
And what has been the hardship of maybe just renting to on a permanent basis, on a yearly or whatever?
The hardship now would be that I could not also use the home when I need to. So the hardship for us would be future. It would likely mean that we'd have to sell the house, I'd have to find a new job, because I couldn't manage the commute every day of the week.
How many rooms are you using as a bed and breakfast?
We have 3 bedrooms. Right now the house is empty, except for when I'm there. There are 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and plenty of off-street parking.
Any other questions for the appellant? You may be seated for now and see if there is anyone who would like to speak on behalf of this variance in general commentary or in opposition. Okay, so you're just viewing this whole thing. Okay, very good. Okay, no more questions for anyone? You have a question?
I was just thinking there are regulations, and I don't know what it is for Airbnbs, and so there's other considerations, I guess,
Yeah.
to think about, because there are, I don't know what all those are, but
Yeah.
there's, for instance, I think with Airbnbs, the person has to stay, or if they are allowed, they have to stay more than 30 days. So there are some rules in place. I don't know
The city doesn't currently recognize Airbnb.
at all. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. So they consider rentals if they're over 30 days. Okay. So there are some other things to think about. I just throw that out there. Sorry, Rick.
I know we had other cases. We had other cases looking for bed and breakfast in R1. Different
we've
neighborhoods.
denied.
Yeah, in different neighborhoods.
Denied, yeah. Well, let's go through the process, and maybe we can discuss after somebody makes a motion, then we will discuss more. Aaron or John, you would like to do the honor?
Sure. Motion to grant approval for appellant requesting a variance from ACC 23.03.02A to allow an owner-occupied bed and breakfast use in R1 zone where such use is not allowed.
Second.
Okay, second. Before we go to the findings, although we understand the hardship for the appellant, this is something that, as Mr. Baum said, it's not allowed in R1. And this house is very similar to the other houses in the neighborhood. And I would say that unless there is a special circumstances or conditions that will grant this variance, then we would be open to all other neighborhood houses coming and asking for the same privilege.
Right.
So that's just my opinion until maybe later on, maybe the rules will change. Having said that, any other discussion on this before I go through the findings?
We had similar cases with the same issue.
Yeah. Exceptional circumstances. What is special about this piece of property that would require them to have a bed and breakfast?
I don't think there really is. I mean, you can argue that it's surrounded by businesses which are noisy and other kinds of things, but it isn't an R1 area. And there's nothing particularly, it's been a house and had guests for a long time. There's nothing that's changed.
And as for the practical difficulty, I think the property can be used as is for either a single family or maybe possibly rental. So it's not that there's not other options, there are options. Preservation of equal property rights, to my knowledge, there is no bed and breakfast in this area, this is zone,
In any R1.
in any R1. Minimum variance, well, it's not minimum, I think. Absence of detriment, there may be no detriment in there, but not of a general nature.
No.
Okay. All in favor of this variance, please raise your hand. I'm sorry.
You have to ask for the opposed.
Um,
You have to ask for the
Okay.
opposed.
Anyone opposed? Oh, okay. I'm sorry you don't have the variance for, so. You're welcome, thank you. Okay, disposition of minutes from February 13, 2018. I read the minutes and they all sounded good. And those of you who want to make a motion to approve the minutes, and those of you who were here last time may vote.
Make motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second, all in favor? Okay, we have everyone's here. And we don't have any other business, so the meeting is adjourned.
Wonderful. Thank you.